Hello, my wonderful, beautiful friends. Welcome back to r/Entitled People, where you'll hear stories about people who truly believe that they can do no wrong and that they should always get what they want. Guys, in this episode, you're gonna hear 3 super entitled stories. The first story, a Karen tries to get OP fired for something he did not do. It's ridiculous. The second story, a woman calls police on OP for a really silly reason. And we'll finish up with a Karen coming in 5 minutes before closing and making a giant food order and expecting it to be fulfilled, which is always fun, right? I hope you stay for the stories today, and my dear friends, hit that subscribe button for future videos.
Please, do it.
So, the store I work in happens to have a bakery that's connected to a main bakery in another city. Customers order cakes and we get them delivered from the main bakery every day. But in case customers did not have the time to place an order before they needed it, we also have dozens of assorted frozen cakes in a display. So the problem is, I'm just a beginner, and I don't have a lot of confidence in my skills yet, so I normally go and get another person that knows how to write on a cake, so I don't mess it up. I didn't think I was that bad until I met this old lady, who we'll call Karen, and her daughter. It was a fairly slow evening when I get a call to help somebody at the bakery. The people working there usually leave around dinner time, so people at my department usually have to help customers instead. As soon as I get there, I saw that it was one of those hip grandmas that you see on greeting cards. She had all the traits: sunglasses, a pink #1 grandma t-shirt, hot pink dyed hair with white roots, I'm dead serious, and the look of entitlement you can only get out of a senior citizen that knew all the tricks into getting what they wanted. She and her daughter had one of the frozen cakes from the display, and she asked me if I could write on it for them. I was very honest, and I warned them, and said, "So, I don't have much experience, so I might not be the best at it." And she says, "Oh no, this cake needs to be beautiful. It's for my grandson." I told her I can go find somebody who could probably write better than me. And she says, "Please do, and hurry, the party's tomorrow." I was kind of confused why it's urgent if it's not needed by then, but oh well. I run off and look for the people who I know can write on a cake. Unfortunately, none of them were there, so I headed back to the bakery. Sure enough, they were still there waiting for me, and looked rather disappointed when I came back alone. I said, "I'm sorry ma'am, I can't find anybody else who can write on a cake, so if you want, I can try to—" "No! You'll ruin it! You just told me that you sucked at writing on cakes." "But don't worry, honey, my son is a bakery manager at another bakery, and he will write it for me. Thank you." So she and her daughter waddle off into the store, the blank cake in her cart. I shrugged and said have a nice day like I normally do, and head back to work. So the very next day, I had just clocked in, and I was called to the office by my manager, the boss. Sure enough, over at the office, I saw the exact same pink-haired lady as the previous day, looking absolutely enraged. When I got there, she gave me the look like I had just kicked her Pomeranian or something. My manager looked rather upset too, as he was holding a phone, her phone. "OP, did you write on a cake for her last night?" I started to tell him, well, I was going to, but she interrupts and says, "You did, and you ruined my grandbaby's birthday cake with your stupid writing. Give me my phone." So my manager gives her the phone and she shows me a picture, and sure enough, it was the exact same cake. But even though I wasn't a cake decorating expert, I knew it looked really bad. The cake was white with blue, yellow, and orange dots on the side, and 2 red and blue balloons on the top. The writing was in pink, really dark pink. Not as pink as her hair though, but even I knew the color did not blend with the rest of them. So the only problem is, I didn't write this. I started to tell my manager that I didn't write it, and he says, "Well, it's one of our cakes, and you were here last night, and she says you came to help her." Yes, he did, and he was saying how much he hated writing on cakes, and refused to get another person to write on it for me. I told her, "Didn't you say you would get your son to write on it for you?" Karen says, "Are you saying that my son wrote this crap on my grandson's birthday cake? He's a professional. He can write better than you ever wish you could. I want a refund for the cake." Me, being ever so curious, asked, "Well, where is it?" "Where's what?" "The cake. You have to have it with you to get a refund." Manager says, "Actually, he's right. You do need to have the cake and your receipt with you to get our policy. So we offer a 200% refund policy, meaning if a product is damaged, you can get a new one and your money back." My manager looks at me and says, "OP, I think you should go." And she said, "Wait, apologize for this crappy writing." I told her that I didn't do it, and she says, "Apologize, or you will make your store lose my business forever." By this point, I can tell the manager wanted to be done with this lady as much as I did, so I put on my best actor performance and apologized profusely. I really did feel bad for the kid, but not for her. I went to my post and stayed there quiet for a while until I met up with the manager again later that night, who came back to see me. He told me what happened after I left them there. Apparently, Karen demanded me be fired for my sloppy handwriting. Manager tried to explain that I technically wasn't trained to write on cakes yet, I was just practicing, so she should just forgive me if I wasn't as good as she wanted. But she still demanded my termination. Eventually my manager warned her that she needed to leave or he will call security. And that's when she started blaming my manager for my mistake, asking him how he could hire such a bad worker, and doesn't he know the customer's always right? He told me not to worry, as he actually did call the security officer and had him check the tapes from the previous night. And sure enough, they confirmed that I did offer to write on the cake, and they refused and left with the cake anyway. He had a feeling that since she brought up her son, she was defending him for his crappy handwriting, even though he was supposedly a bakery manager. Guys, this story is absolutely ridiculous. How crappy of a person do you have to be to knowingly demand somebody lose their job over something they didn't do? I give OP so much props for biting his tongue and not saying a word when she was full on accusing him of messing up a cake. Oh my goodness, how many of you would have absolutely lost it on this woman? I'm still speechless at the fact that her son messed up the writing and she pinned the blame on OP. What in the world is going on? I've been babysitting two little girls, 3 and 5, for over a year now. I've known their parents since I was a child, and I'm 21 now, and we get along very well. A month ago, I decided to dye my hair in a red-brownish color. When I babysat them, they loved it. Their parents are quite okay with little girls playing with makeup and fashion, so when I was done babysitting, I asked the mom if I could bring some fun fashion things to play with them next time. The next time was last week. When I got there, I opened my beauty case and showed them what I got. Necklaces, costumes, hair ties, makeup, frozen perfume, and pink hair dye. So I asked both of the parents if it was okay for me to dye their hair pink, since it's their favorite color. I also informed them that it was temporary hair dye, designed for kids and could be washed out immediately. So it was pretty much harmless. The parents laughed a bit with me and told me it was fine, but specifically asked me to put them in a bath without washing their hair. I guess they wanted to see it the next morning. They said goodbye and told me that grandma would come home around midnight to pay me. Some hours later, the doorbell rang. It was only 9 p.m. and the girls were still awake. I put them in their bathrobes and night diapers. As I was getting them ready for bed and put them in front of a TV and went to open the door, it was Grandma Karen. She was almost 3 hours early. Without even saying hello, she entered, almost knocked me over, and while walking to the living room, she opened up her purse to get a €50 bill. As soon as she went to hand me the bill, she sees their pink hair and loses her damn marbles. She says, "What in the Jesus and Mary have you done to my babies?" I told her, oh, don't worry, we just played fashionistas. It's okay, it can be washed out. And she runs to the girls and starts screaming hysterically. She says, "What has she done to your beautiful golden hair?" I tried to chime in and say, "Ma'am, it's okay, Mom and Dad know about it." "Shut up, who do you even think you are to just come in here and assault my babies?" So she proceeds to scream at me for a couple of more minutes and says, "I can't believe you abused them. I ought to call the police on you." Okay, so at this point, I started to freak out. Even though I didn't do anything wrong, the thought of being interrogated made me almost crap my pants. She freaking held me hostage in the living room while continuing her screaming and moaning. She even wrinkled the €50 bill like toilet paper and shoved it down her pocket. And curse words after curse words left her mouth. She says, "Oh my god, I can't believe Jane would even hire someone like you. You probably have a criminal record, don't you?" She proceeded to tell me that she hoped I get 20 years in prison and that I ruined her precious baby's life by coloring their hair. She then says, "The police are on their way. You will never find a job again." She proceeded to run her hand through the kid's hair and says, "Oh my precious babies, did that witch hurt you? She did, didn't she? Oh my god, did she also cut it?" So yeah, think about the most Karen you know. double her age and shorten her hair, and that's what I had to deal with for almost half an hour. Oh, and she also said that me coloring my hair like a prostitute was a bad influence for kids in general. Anyways, I was able to text the parents during her rant. They arrived not too long after the police and CPS officer. You can only imagine how they reacted, but they couldn't leave until the parents arrived to make sure everything was okay. The officers left, mom and dad freaked out, and they kept apologizing to me. Mind you, that this was happening all in front of the girls because Grandma Karen did not let me put them in bed. So not only did she give me the most violent verbal attack I've ever seen, she also ruined the parents' date night. When I left to go home, I started crying, but hey, I got paid double that night and the girl's hair looked fabulous. Oh my goodness, guys, that was unbelievable and ridiculous. Do people like this actually exist? I've heard of grandparents smothering their grandchildren with love and affection, but this was on a whole other level of crazy. Imagine babysitting and then having the cops called on you for doing something you were allowed to do, like coloring hair. Are you kidding me, lady? So I've worked at McDonald's in Georgia for 5 months now. I'm trained to work on any station except the grill, which means 9 times out of 10, you could walk in and see me at the counter or in the drive-thru window. The time was 10:56, and we close at 11 p.m. I'm in the front window, which means I make the drinks and hand out the food. We are pre-closing. With only 4 minutes left before we shut down, this is normal. Coffee machines are off, grills are being cleaned and shut down, dishes are being washed, and we get cleaning staff mopping the lobby. At 10:57, here comes a Karen and her 7 children, all of which look so friggin' tired it ain't even funny. She comes to the register and starts yelling, "Excuse me, is there someone who's gonna take my order?" My manager looks at me with this "go handle this" look, so I go to the front counter and I'm like, "Hi, I'm sorry, but we're closing up now." She looks me up and down and just scoffs, "Your website says you close at 11. It's not 11, you can take my order." I sigh because this is policy. If a customer comes in before closing, we're obligated to take their order. So I log into the system and start taking their order. 15 double cheeseburgers, 15 large fries, 15 sweet teas, and 3 large coffees. I was like, "Ma'am, there's no way the staff can do all that. Our grills are shut off for the night, and there's only 4 patties in our heat box. Our coffee machines are off, and our pots are being washed, and we have enough sweet tea to fill 3 large cups." And she is red in the face. She says, "You will turn it all back on, or I will have you fired. This is discrimination. You can't do this to a white woman in the South. My husband is an army soldier. You should have more respect for me." I told her, "Ma'am, I'm not being discriminatory. It's almost 11 and our staff is closing up." So by now, my manager is standing behind me on the phone with corporate, and he says, "Ma'am, I'm the shift manager for tonight. What's the problem?" And she says, "This racist girl is refusing my order. I'll have you know, I'm married to an army soldier." Well, my blood was boiling. First of all, I'm white as well, and second off, when did I say I refused the order because of her race or her husband's occupation? Anyway, my manager's just staring at her and says, "Ma'am, I'm on the phone with corporate, and I've been informed to tell you that unless you leave the premises now, I'm well within my right to call police. You are harassing my employee after closing time, and using rather choice words in our family-friendly lobby." So, in the long and short, that's what caused me a free day off with pay, because I didn't leave McDonald's until 2 a.m. on a school night, because we had to call the police. I don't like Southern Karens. So, I love how she brings up that her husband is in the army. Twice. Yes, he's in the army, and I thank him for his service, ma'am, but you're still not getting all that food 5 minutes before closing. My friends, if you have any crazy stories about working fast food and dealing with Karens, please leave them in the comments below. I'd love to read those. And that, my friends, brings us to another end of our /Entitled People. Guys, we survived another episode of Karens. If you guys missed the last episode of our /Entitled People, OP's aunt calls Child Protective Services because OP's dad would not co-sign her car. What? If you haven't heard this ridiculous story, I'm gonna link it right here. Check it out if you haven't, and I'll see you guys in the next one. I love you.